This week, catching a bus just got a whole lot easier. COTA's new payment system is taking Central Ohio's mass transit into the future as more people call this region home.
I honestly think it's long overdue.
Riders can now leave the cash at home as we see more public transportation in Central Ohio. How this move is saving you time and money. Plus, 10 TV's Jeff Hogan sits down with Lieutenant Governor Jim Tressel as the state rolls out a new workforce playbook. They talk strategy and opportunity with Central Ohio's job market booming. And
tax dollars for an arena upgrade. Why 25 years after Nationwide Arena opened, operators say it's time for an update.
It is. Central Ohio is certainly booming. We all see it and we all can feel it. So here's what we uncovered this week in Boomtown. Women's sports got a big boom this week with a huge announcement from U.S. Soccer. The She Believes Cup is coming back to the capital city for the second time in just 3 years. So this March, you can watch the U.S. women's national soccer team at the Scotts Miracle-Gro Field. Just another sign of Columbus's growing profile as host city.
Columbus really is, it's a soccer town, and they see that when they come here. Our fans show up. People drive in from all over the Midwest. Last time we had people coming in from Chicago, Cleveland, Detroit. So to have that and see that they're able to sell it out, people are here to support the women. So it's really a family-friendly event. And for little girls, little boys to come see these strong women play and perform and to win here.
And when it comes to the fact that we are elevating women's sports with such a huge event like this, how important is that in that mission?
Oh, incredibly important, both for us at Haslam Sports Group and for U.S. Soccer, because it is our mission to make sure that we are not just promoting men's professional sports, but how can we make Columbus a women's professional sports town too? So we're lucky to have the Columbus Fury here, but to be able to bring another sport and show girls and young women what they can aspire to be and play, incredibly important.
And I can tell you there will be more exciting news in the weeks to come with that about growing women's sports here in Central Ohio. Thanks so much for joining us for This Week in Boomtown. I'm Angela Ann. A few headlines to start us off. An influx of federal funding in Piketon this week, where Centrus Energy plans to expand its centrifuge plant. Now, the U.S. Department of Energy announced a $900 million investment. Interesting fact, though, this is the only U.S.-owned, U.S. technology uranium enrichment plant currently in production. This expansion is expected to bring about 1,000 construction jobs and 300 permanent ones. Here in Columbus, more money coming to Nationwide Arena this week. Both Columbus and Franklin County have agreed to raise the casino tax revenue to help pay for a $400 million renovation. This increase will translate to about $4 million a year, and just one small piece of the funding pie. Sports and entertainment are a growing market here in Central Ohio, and fans say they hope the new upgrades to Nationwide will attract even larger, well-known shows.
I definitely would like to see us stop getting skipped for big tours. I don't like driving to Detroit or Chicago for a concert.
And I think from an entertainment standpoint, I think the rooftop bar and some of the outdoor improvements they're looking to make are what really moves the needle for me.
Well, the group that manages Nationwide Arena still has a ways to go to get to that $400 million price tag. If the state approves $100 million from the budget and private donors chip in as much, if not more, planners say we could see the first phase of these upgrades as soon as this summer. And we are kicking off the new year with some good news for Central Ohio, especially if you're in the market to sell a house. The National Association of Realtors ranked Columbus among the top 10 hot housing markets for 2026. The group points to steady growth, affordability, and rising incomes, calling it a powerful combination. And Columbus is in pretty rare company here. The only other Midwestern cities on that list are Indianapolis and Minneapolis. Despite that news, housing stock remains a growing pain here in Central Ohio. And this week, there is more money on the table to help. Governor Mike DeWine says applications are now open for $100 million in home construction loans. This money is meant to boost housing supply in rural counties with fewer than 75,000 people. So we're talking counties like Union, Pickaway, and Madison. And that money comes right on time for Pickaway County, where they are sure to need new housing in the next decade. That's because leaders at Anduril say in the next 10 years, they plan to create 4,000 new jobs at their new autonomous weapons site just south of Rickenbacker. 1 year ago this month, we learned about Arsenal One. And this week, we got a first look at the new team. This photo here, released this week, shows the first people who will work at Arsenal One, wrapping up their training at Anduril's California headquarters. Now, they're learning how to build Fury, which is the AI-powered unmanned combat aircraft that Anduril will soon have coming off the production line this summer. Anduril says that should begin again sometime this summer, but the company wants to hire 125 more people to help it hyperscale the weapons production. With more workers relocating, the VP of Strategy told me last fall that Anduril is working to make sure housing doesn't become a challenge.
It would be foolish to say it's not a concern. It's been an issue, not just here locally, but across the state for some time. We've been engaged with Jobs Ohio, with the Columbus Partnership, with the local townships about housing plans and housing development. Communities are very clear in sharing with us their plans so that we know and can help point our employees to places where they might find good affordable housing.
Well, nearly 1 million new people are expected to move here to Central Ohio over the next 25 years. So finding homes for them is just one challenge. Moving them around our already busy roads is another. That's why COTA is working to expand mass transit here and fast. Take a look at these renderings. They show you what the future of mass transportation will soon look like. This year, COTA plans to break ground on the first route of its new bus rapid transit. It's all part of Linkus, which was the voter-approved sales tax increase to help transform Central Ohio's transit system. Now, COTA says the BRT lines will have the speed of the metro with the flexibility of a bus system. And the first of 3 lines will be right there along West Broad Street. Now, COTA says the secret sauce to keeping these buses moving fast for riders, new and old, is keeping them on time. That's why the transit agency introduced a new way to pay. 10 TV's Catherine Simon shows us how it'll make boarding a bus as quick as possible.
Starting this week, riding the COTA bus is getting a bit easier. Now, hopping on the bus and paying your fare can be as simple as a tap. Riders can now tap to pay their fare on COTA buses. A COTA spokesperson tells me as long as you use the same card, the system will track your payments and you'll never pay more than $4.50 a day or $62 a month, no matter how many times you take the bus.
We see it as opening the doors to people who want to use public transportation, but don't really want to get a pass or don't want to really get a smart card or use a transit app. They want to be able to just pay the way that they always pay. COTA riders can still use all the existing payment methods. Tap to pay is just an additional option. Reporting in Columbus, Catherine Simon, 10 TV News.
Catherine, thank you so much. Now, one thing to note about the new tap to pay method: each rider must have their own payment type. So if you're traveling with someone else, they will have to use their own form of payment. COTA says smart card family accounts are available. Well, 2026 will be a year of seeing Central Ohio's workforce change as we adapt to new businesses moving in. Now, ever since becoming Lieutenant Governor, Jim Tressel spent last year touring the state and creating Ohio's workforce playbook. 10 TV's Jeff Hogan sat down with Tressel to find out where that stands today.
The Ohio workforce playbook, is that just custom fit for you to be put in charge of that from the start, something with a playbook to it?
You know, what's interesting is when we first got here, he did, I think, as part of his strategy, know that for about the last 7, 8 years, a lot of opportunities have come to Ohio. Between what Jobs Ohio has done and the General Assembly has funded and the governor's office has led, we've got a lot of great opportunities in Ohio right now, maybe more so than we've had in a few decades. And so in the back of his mind, I know he was thinking, well, he knew how hard I worked on workforce as a president. And so he kind of said, hey, we're going to create this workforce playbook. And I think the playbook was a little play on former coach thing. So we went to work at trying to figure out, well, you know, what does that mean? Because we have great opportunities. How can we figure out what's the best game plan to get those opportunities taken advantage of and so forth? So we traveled all over the state. And what I learned was between the Office of Workforce Transformation, which has about 150 workforce initiatives, and the various regions that have a lot of nonprofit groups, a lot of groups on the educational sector side. Of course, you have our traditional educational partners. We've got a lot going on. And what I think we learned was, one, people think regionally. So if you start saying, well, in Ohio we have this many opportunities, well, they don't live in all of Ohio. Where I live, here's the opportunity. So getting people more aware of the opportunities, but secondly, having them become aware of the pathways and the assistance there to help them. You know, here's a path to get there. Here's what you're going to have to do. Here's who will help you. Here's who will bring you around. So the workforce playbook per se is really going to be a regional effort with a kind of a playbook of their own in every region, with the goal being that awareness of, hey, this is out there, and that, okay, here's the path you have to take to do that. We're doing a good job of that in K through 12, 2-year, 4-year education. I think we're exposing young people to more things now than maybe we ever did. Lieutenant Governor Husted and now Senator Husted did a great job of championing the career and technical education side of things. The General Assembly agreed with the governor and lieutenant governor to fund about $300 and some million worth of career and tech build out. And now we have waiting lists for things where we had scarcities, waiting lists for electrician programs or HVAC or, you know, some of the career and tech things. So we've been really doing a whole bunch of good things. As we assess it, we have to make sure we know what those are. What's out there for me and how do I go get it? And that's what the playbook is. You know, what's the goal and how do I score? And so we're actually rolling out a regional approach to it right near the end of January, where someone in each region will take charge of it with extra assistance from Columbus, some funding from Columbus to get more people out there on the street. You know, we always say there's thousands of people that aren't in the workforce that if they just knew the opportunities and knew how to get there, we'd be better off. There's people coming out of corrections, 18,000 a year coming out of corrections that want to turn their lives around and want to start, you know, doing things that will be the betterment of society. There's people coming out of foster care. There's people who, you know, have just thought, you know, I'm looking for a way to raise my professional profile, and I want to see what else is out there. So we've got a lot of folks out there we think we can touch, and that's what the Workforce Playbook is going to try to do here in that last, and as Governor DeWine sprints through the finish line.
Yeah, and you'll be right there with him.
That's right.
Doing that. And are we positioned to survive after the boom goes away, if and when that happens, economically and
You know, I think we're probably better positioned than we've been in a lot of years. There was a time 10, 12 years ago where we were the 35th most attractive state for people to grow their business. Either come there, here, or grow it here. We're now the 5th most attractive state. We've had 63 companies move from each side of the United States to here to either expand or plant business. So it's all here for us. I think it's going to be a matter of, can we execute on this economic development that has come our way? And Jobs Ohio and that entire group is continuing to attract more as time goes on, because all of a sudden you get an Anduril and then you need some supply chain, or you get an Intel, or you get a Joby Aviation, or whoever, all the different things that have come. Well, then there'll be some supply chain things that make sense. And so I would say the little bit of time I've been here, one thing that I've grown to realize is how fast change happens. And it's been happening fast in this world right now, and who knows what AI is going to do. I watched a special on that the other day, and you know, we shouldn't be frightened of it, but it is going to change the world. There are going to be different things that will become jobs, and there'll be things that we've grown accustomed to being jobs that won't be jobs anymore. And it's going to change fast. So I like where Ohio is in terms of you know, being, the pendulum has swung back to Ohio a little bit, and I think that's helpful. But we need more housing, we need more infrastructure. It's not that it'll be easy, but I think it's heading our direction.
You mentioned some of those tech schools, 2-year trades.
Absolutely.
Being a 4-year guy all your life and all your dealings, you're okay with that?
Well, you know, we need all of the above. You know, it's just like we needed offense, defense, special teams, scout teams, trainers, managers. You know, you need it all to be good. Now, we're still short on the things that 4-year colleges turn out. You know, we need more engineers. We need to make sure that the engineers that graduate from our great 4-year institutions stay here. Only 65% of them that graduate from Ohio's universities stay here. We need a better batting average than that. We need to keep them because of all the opportunity. We need more nurses. We need lots of things that the 4-year schools put out. So there's no shortage of the need for higher education. We need a lot of what 2-year education puts out. We need a lot of what being credentialed and trained and earn while you learn puts out. We need it all. And you know, we need the retail jobs, because as your population, like here in Central Ohio, it's booming. You look at some of the things, well, it's going to be the need for more retail, more services. So we need just to make sure that as high a percent of the able-bodied people that live in this state take one of those roles, and we attract more people who don't live in this state right now to come here because of the opportunity.
So Jeff Hogan joins us now for This Week in Boomtown, talking a little bit more about this. First of all, how cool you got to sit down with the Lieutenant Governor.
It was really neat, especially given my history with him over the years,
Sure.
You know, mostly on the field and hosting his football show. But it was certainly a delight because it had been such a long time to just get together, you know, and as predicted, first saying, "Hey, Hoagie!" You know.
But both of you are wearing different suits, so to speak, right?
So to speak, different roles playing. Yeah.
So what is your sense then of how the Lieutenant Governor is really treating this playbook, given his winning experience on the field?
Yeah, well, as everybody knows, he's a great study. He's a fast learner. He played much more of an observer role, I get the feeling, in this year one, as he just kind of waded into what that role actually meant, because he said, I don't even know what a lieutenant governor is supposed to do. And Governor DeWine said, just do what I tell you to do. He said, okay, I can do that, you know, but that was year one. I think it was more than he anticipated. You know, what it was going to be all encompassing out there. There was a lot of learning in that first year, without a doubt. But also, I think they were smart to play to his strengths. You know, the old ball coach out there, you know, let's have a game plan, let's have a playbook, so to speak, and doing those types of things. So, you know, and it dated all the way back to his days as president at Youngstown State University, when he took workforce tours around the state and had workforce initiatives and things like that. But this is on a larger scale. I think anybody would be a bit wide-eyed stepping into that role like he did, but with all the opportunity and opportunity for success and things like that across the state and what is out there. Getting people to those pathways of success, getting assistance to people regionally, things like that.
Sure.
So I think, you know, it was a multifaceted role that I think he embraced.
You know, it almost felt like watching him on a recruiting mission for football, because he literally toured the state almost every other week. He was somewhere trying to figure out what does that workforce playbook, I should say, look like for this part of the state when it's so different from maybe rural versus urban. So, you know, the fact is that he came on a little bit into DeWine's second term. So his time's a little shorter than normal. do you get the sense like he's kind of trying to rush this playbook out there, wants to get some action on it soon?
Well, I asked him also, wasn't this always going to be the path? The sweater vest, Governor Tressel, the jokes out there. Wasn't he always meant to be this? And he said, no, it was meant to be a math teacher. That's what he was going to be. And that was
the sweater vest kind of works too for that.
That was the game plan early on. But I was in North Carolina at the time when the announcement came out, and everybody down in North Carolina was surprised.
Sure.
And I said, nobody in Ohio is surprised by this, that he got in there. But it wasn't the goal for him. It wasn't always what he was going to do to be lieutenant governor and what that does. So it's been a learning experience. He's going to leave it all on the field, so to speak, in this short time that he has. And he says he's not going to be a career politician. He's going to hang it up after that and take it through the finish line with Governor DeWine.
It just seems like this was so fitted for him, though, right? I mean,
100%.
He's all about nurturing the younger generations and the new kids coming up, so to speak. So, Jeff, given your time with him, did you get a sense that he feels the non-traditional higher ed might be the way to go, given what we're seeing now with manufacturing and all these high-tech schools coming up, and it's changing the landscape?
Well, just when he said he wasn't going to be a full-time politician, he gave me a political answer, right out of that one. But he's not wrong. There's room for everybody, and that's what he said. We need tech schools. We need, to put the $300 million that, the General Assembly, along with former Lieutenant Governor John Husted, what they've pushed through, $300 million in that tech build-out that's on the way. They need to put that to good use. Trades are super important, obviously, but four-year schools. He has a four-year school back at Ohio State, Youngstown State. He's been involved in four-year schools and universities all along. But a good example of all that is that, for instance, the 65% of the engineers that come out of our four-year universities stay in state. So 35% are getting away.
And he wants to keep them.
Well, when he was a football coach, he built a fence around Ohio.
Sure.
And all the good ones stayed.
Yeah.
He made them stay, made them want to stay. So, as he said, he flipped sports there. He said we need a better batting average in that category, really.
Recruit and retain, right?
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. This regional expansion he's talking about by the end of this month. Can you elaborate just a little bit more on that? Because we're coming up on it fast.
Yeah, that was a brief part of the conversation. Yeah. We are coming up, and it's supposed to be the end of the month, so we're still a couple weeks away. So we'll get some more details on that in time, a little more definitive outline, if you will. He said he's just amazed at how fast things move, how fast jobs come, and then they become not jobs anymore so quickly. So the plan is to put some people in place regionally, put some people in each region of the state to try to bring some of those people off the sidelines, if you will, who don't have jobs, get them from communities where they don't have jobs to get them into, and have people in those communities to give them the assistance, get some assistance in money from the state as well, get that sent to those people out in those communities, and just get the workforce into those jobs, attracting companies from east and west of the country to the central part of the country here. Done a good job of that. And, that will help keep not only this boomtown, but the boom state well positioned for a lot of years. He's hopeful.
What's he going to do when he's done?
He's going to relax.
You think?
I think there might be some Florida time involved in
golf,
there.
maybe?
Yeah, some sunshine, some golf. And I think that's, I was not surprised when he said that, this is going to be it for him as well. But I was surprised when he said that it wasn't going to always be in his future, because I always thought, okay, there's a progression here. I don't know what to call him. Coach, president, he's done with the university at Youngstown, lieutenant governor. I was like,
something's coming.
Coach.
Something's coming. Well, great to have you joining us here on This Week in Boomtown, Jeff, and keep tabs on this because we'd love to see what happens.
I certainly will.
Yeah.
We'll follow up on this. Another full year to go.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Assuming no recession, I'm expecting an employment gain for the Columbus metro area of 8,000 net new jobs, or 0.7%. National forecasts are generally landing for the U.S. economy around 0.5%.
So you just heard it there, growth is solid. That was the message this week at the Columbus Metropolitan Club. The panel focused on the economic forecast for the new year. And here's 10 TV's Station Akin with some insight on what she heard the experts say.
You know, as we got all of this data today about the economic forecast for Columbus, an interesting component of the conversation was about how consumers feel and how that affects the economy. And even though we're dealing with a lot of numbers, a lot of data, we actually found that our experts today rely on consumer sentiment, how we're feeling around the dinner table about what the economy looks like. That is an important data point in the big discussion about economic activity.
Feelings are absolutely crucial. There's an important survey of consumers, the Consumer Sentiment Index that comes out from the University of Michigan. I watch that like a hawk, because if consumers aren't feeling good, they're not going to spend. And if they don't spend, that craters the economy, because consumers are 70% of the economy.
So facts versus feelings, but they're both part of the discussion when it comes to economic activity.
Very good, Stacia. Thank you so much. Finally, we leave you with this. Back in August, we took you along for a ride right here along the Ohio State Fairgrounds, showing you the construction underway right now at the Expo Center. And the state basically says it's investing nearly $500 million to give the fairgrounds a bit of a facelift. So we're talking 2 completely new buildings, dozens of renovations to several others, and miles of new fiber optics all along the way. Well, the real push for why this construction is happening now is because of the boom in Central Ohio. And this week, some big news on that progress. Take a look. Officials announcing that they have now opened up bookings for 2 of the new buildings set to open by this July. These pictures show you what the upgraded Agriculture Center will look like, along with the Ohio Showcase building. So we're talking more than 230,000 square feet of exhibit and event space combined, plus a nice little food hall, private event areas, and a permanent exhibit highlighting Ohio's history. All of this is part of a major transformation ahead of the 2026 Ohio State Fair, which starts July 29th. So mark your calendars. We are certainly off to a very busy start, and we're barely 2 weeks in to January. We do know growth is all around us, so we do want to hear from you. Text us 614-460-3345. If you have any questions related to Central Ohio's rapid growth, just let us know, and we'll get to work to get those answers and solutions. If you are watching us on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. You can always drop your questions in the comment section as well, and watch some of our past episodes of This Week in Boomtown. We do want to thank you for watching This Week in Boomtown. I'm Angela Ann. We'll see you again next week right here on 10 TV Plus.